Hey there, welcome to the EYF podcast on our YouTube page.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm Dave. This is James. We're coming to you live from, I'd like to say it's the studio, but it's the garage, and it's got a lot of junk all over it. But, hey, we do the best we can.
It's the studio, yeah.
It's the studio, yeah. And so today, we're going to be talking about what I think is very important. It's kind of a special thing, and we're putting James here on blast, and we're putting him on the spot, and want to talk about healing today.
Right, and so we're going to use the power of the testimony. And so for those of you who've watched our videos or listened to our podcast, you know that that's one of the ways that we defeat the enemy, right? Is through the power of the testimony. And so, in my opinion, healing is a big component in the Christian life. And so we're going to give you a powerful testimony, and hopefully it resonates with you.
Yeah, and it's going to be an ongoing powerful testimony because we're not going to be able to cover everything here in one time. And just for reference, our mentor, Pastor Glenn Curry, we were talking to him the other day, and he said that the number one and number two requested things when it comes to people's requests for prayer is health and finances. And so if you don't have health, I guess it doesn't really matter what kind of finances you got, because if you're dead, well, you just gave your money away to somebody else anyway. And you can't have, finances can't buy you good health.
Right, and not only that, if you don't have health, you can't serve the Lord, right? And so
right.
It makes it very challenging. So those two things go hand in hand.
Actually, so what I want to do is I want to introduce James Cummings here to everybody. And as you know, this is the other half of the EYF podcast, exerciseyourfaith.com. But James, about 3-4 years ago?
About 5.
5 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, the memory gets a little foggy
it's been a while.
After the days and times. But James and I work together, and we spend about 8 hours a day together in the PE office, and he started coming down with all these symptoms, all these things, and it was brain fog, it was headaches, it was, nausea.
Stomach issues. There was a long list of those symptoms, and a lot of them were neurological to start.
Right, and so he ran the full gamut. And so every day, I try to figure things out, and I couldn't figure out anything, and we're looking for, what you do when you get like a medical symptom, right? Everybody does. You go right to Google, and everybody's got cancer because that's just what happens, right? It's like, it links to cancer right there.
Yeah.
That's what you got. And so anyhow, we ran through that, and we looked through, I think it was multiple sclerosis, I think was another.
Yeah, those are the big ones. The disease mirrors a lot of other diseases, and so fibromyalgia, there's a lot of, dementia, Alzheimer's are all there. So
yeah, and so anyway, what finally happened is James was diagnosed with Lyme disease. And so if you're not familiar with Lyme disease, I'm not going to talk about it. I'll let him talk about it, but because he knows more about it than I do. But anyway, just to give you an example. So at the time when James was first diagnosed with Lyme disease, he weighed about 172. Yeah, like 172 pounds. And so he was a big, robust gentleman, short as I am, but he was robust, though. He was robust. And short story. And so anyway, James went all the way down at the peak of your battle, all the way down to 128 pounds. He looked like a cancer patient without being a cancer patient. And there's some photos that you just couldn't believe. But anyway, this was an arduous thing that you went through. And so anyway, tell us a little bit about Lyme disease. What is it? How do you get it? And why did you get it?
Yeah, and I'm just really thankful that we have this opportunity to share and educate, because it's really a misconstrued disease. And so so just to start with, Lyme disease is a tick-borne disease or insect disease. You can get it from mosquito, a flea, which most people don't know. And so when you get bit, the bacteria is transferred into your bloodstream, and then, depending on your immune system, things happen from there. So if you're normal functioning, you got everything going on, everything's good in your life, stress is down, trauma's down, all those things, you probably won't feel the effects of, what's going on. But if you got a compromised immune system, or if you're dealing with issues in your life, the symptoms can come on really strong and go for a while. If you have Lyme disease, you know exactly what I'm talking about right now. So, but yes, yeah. So that's how I get started. Like Dave said, I don't know exactly when I was bit by a tick. I know that my mom said that I was bitten early on in my young age, and so sometimes it takes these time to manifest. So just keep that in mind. And like Dave said, it took about 2 years to get a diagnosis. I know we made it seem like it was, a minute and a half on this video, but I saw every doctor in the county, and I remember, just real quick, I just remember talking to a gentleman in our county, and this guy graduated from Harvard. He's a disease, infectious disease expert, so to speak. And I sat across from this guy, and he goes, "There's no way you have Lyme disease." And I said, "Oh, well, that's great."
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
You're great.
Yeah, and come to find out, the guy was completely wrong. So that, $600,000 education was worth nothing at that point.
So this guy is kind of like Dr. Fauci.
Yeah, we're just throwing it all out.
Yeah, he just putting it all out there.
Yeah.
Wear that mask, not take it off. It's a good thing he recommends pants, because that might have been a problem. So anyway, just so you know about this, I mean, when he talks about the idea of this diagnosis taking a long time, it really truly did. And it was like every day James would come in to the office and he'd have some sort of symptom, some sort of issue. And back here. Yeah. Okay, so I don't know what happened, folks.
Little glitch.
Yeah, we had a little glitch in the system. You know what? The computer had Lyme disease.
Yeah, see?
Sucker got bit, man.
Yeah, trying to stop us getting this information out there. Yeah. That's not true. Yeah, no. And one of the strongest symptoms early on, I tell you, was dizziness. And just, if you've ever felt brain fog, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it's really like, when you see that thing processing on the computer, you are just about 4 or 5 steps behind everybody. I mean, I remember to this day, I was in a store locally, and I was looking at a woman who I coached her son for basketball for 4 years, and I was looking at her, and for the life of me, I could not remember her name. And she said hello to me, and I just waved because I didn't want to be rude. And you could tell she wanted to talk, but I was like, I don't know who this is. And that was one of the scariest moments for me.
I thought you were going to say something like, she looked at you, and then you're looking at her, and then the next thing you knew, you were in the back of a police car.
Right.
Because, it was like it just didn't end well. And so anyway, so you got all these symptoms. You got brain fog. What are some of the things that people can look for? Because obviously not everything is Lyme, just like not everything is cancer, not everything is this. But what are some of the strong indicators that say to you, hey, I might have this? Right.
So first of all, if you know you've been bitten by a tick, and you're experiencing symptoms, I mean, to me, that's 2 + 2. And then you go into the next step, which is, and we'll talk about this later on, but we'll talk about testing, because that's important. Because the tests here, covered by medical insurance, stink. It's unfortunate, and you're going to have to pay some money, but it's worth it to know the truth. And so
that's one thing I was going to ask you. So, like, if you go to your general practitioner, especially in a state like California, where we're not, this is not known as a tick.
Right.
This isn't Tennessee, and you're not in the backwoods or something like that. What are some of the things that you got to do if you start to feel this, if you're not in a quote unquote tick prone area?
Right. And I was told that there's no Lyme disease in California, which is a complete joke. So don't believe that. But there are 2 tests. I'm glad you brought that up. There's one called the Western blot, and there's one called the ELISA. It's ELISA. So if you are looking and you're working with insurance and you want to try that, you can go ahead and try that. The effectiveness is less than 20%, but you know what? I took the test, and just so you know, I know this is a lot of information at once, but there are a certain number of bands. They're all different DNA markers. And so according to the CDC, you need to have a certain number. I believe it's 5 or 6 to be considered having Lyme disease, which is a joke, because if you test positive on more than, I would say, 1 or 2, you've got it. And I did, but they told me at the time that didn't qualify as Lyme disease. So there are some markers out there that can get you started.
So then, so insurance is a problem.
Oh gosh, it's a problem.
So then, is there a better insurance? I mean, I'm just trying to think out loud here at the top of my head, because is there a better? I mean, how do you get this to where your doctor is going to pay for the treatment so that you're not, investing? I mean, because you're sick, right? Yeah. And that's what health insurance is supposed to be for.
Right.
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah. So unfortunately, traditional medicine here in California, I'm assuming in the rest of the United States, I can't speak for it, but in California, if you are diagnosed with Lyme disease, which is almost impossible in and of itself from those tests, then your practitioner is going to prescribe you antibiotics, which will be covered initially, because in their traditional mind, with a couple weeks of antibiotics, this will be cleared out, which isn't true either, by the way. Just so you know.
Okay. So then, how many people then, let's say, in California? I mean, I know that just with you getting this thing, we've discovered a few other people in our community, and we live in a small town in Southern California. So, Fillmore, you heard about a few other people locally here. How many people in the state of California are diagnosed with Lyme disease that we know of?
That's a great question, and the numbers are increasing, but I will tell you that you're going to have more people diagnosed with Lyme than you will with HIV and cancer combined.
Really?
In the next year, yep. The numbers are that significant because now the people are just starting, it's just now catching on. And because you've had people like Justin Bieber.
The Biebs had Lyme disease?
Yeah. And so you're having some of these, Thalia, if you're familiar with her, so some of these more, significant celebrities have been diagnosed with it. And so they're starting to attract attention and awareness. Avril Lavigne, she's a big advocate for Lyme disease. And so it's starting to get attention, recognized, and now studied more.
Okay. So yeah, and again, we're gonna kind of wrap up here today because we're gonna do this, talk about this in some certain, in a certain order, certain parts. So just right off the bat, what are some things for people to look for that if, okay, this is a trigger, I've got this is what I should go do today. I should go to my doctor and ask and order for this test, or I should order this, or I should do that. What are those things? If
you're experiencing symptoms that come and go, if you're experiencing especially neurological symptoms, if you're experiencing joint pain, and I know these are kind of general, but I'm telling you, Lyme disease is the great mimicker because people think that it's something else. Your doctor will tell you that, he looked me in the eyes and told me I was crazy. He goes, I don't know what else to do.
I remember that one. Yeah.
He goes, I don't know what to do. He goes, we'll send you to a psychiatrist with some antidepressants. And so, anyways, don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Yeah. Yeah, that was one test we wanted to come back negative.
Yeah.
But anyway, so if you're having these random symptoms, especially joint pain, stuff in the hip, stiff neck, and I know these are real general, but if it's something that's persisting and it's getting worse, and you're not your doctor, your practitioner, ask for the Western blot and ask for Alyssa. That's where I would tell you to get started, and we can go from there.
Okay, so with you becoming, I would assume you would think of yourself right now or consider yourself an expert on Lyme disease.
Well, every day I'm learning more. And those of you who know who've gotten sick, you have to advocate for yourself.
Yeah, you have to advocate for yourself, absolutely. Yeah. And I don't think it matters what the illness is, but in your case, for sure, you got to do that. So how can people reach out to you so that if they have questions about Lyme disease? Because one of the greatest things, I'm sure, is for people to realize that they're not alone. Absolutely. And to be able to say, oh my gosh, that guy, that's what he said, that's me. So how can they do that? How can they reach out to you?
And I'm glad you brought that up, Dave, because the enemy wants us to feel isolated, right? He wants you to feel like whatever your illness is, you're the only person in the world that has this, and there's no way out. And so we know that that's not true, but Dave's right. I felt like that. I was like, Lyme disease, who's got Lyme disease? Nobody I knew had Lyme disease.
Yeah, I didn't have it, man. I was clean.
I was like, you got it?
I got other things, but I don't got that.
So, but there is a big community out there. But if you want more information from myself, on Instagram, it's Restored Health and Wellness. You can reach out to me to DM me there, and I can certainly answer any questions that you guys have.
And we'll go ahead and we'll post that in the show notes, like everybody always says, to get a hold of James. But that's one of the things that you want to make sure that you do is reach out to people who've been there before. Yeah. And he certainly has. And so this is going to be a series because it took a long time for James to get healed. I believe that he is healed now. Yep. He's his weight is back up to
155.
Yeah, 155. So I've still I gotta lose a little now because the buggers, whatever. So anyway, got to compete.
But I just want to let you know that, like Dave said, there is hope. And so I just know, because I could tell you, I've been sitting in so many situations where I go like, there's no way out. And trust me, there's hope for you. If one person can get through it, you can get through it. So.
Absolutely. So there's always hope. And no matter what it is you're doing, no matter what it is you're dealing with, if you're dealing with Lyme disease, you're dealing with cancer, pray. Yeah. You got to stop. You got to pray. But you also got to believe that you're healed. Yes. And that was one of the things that I know that James had to come to grips with, because it says in Isaiah 53, by his stripes, we are healed. And so what does that mean? Well, it means you're healed You may not see the fruit of it maybe right away, but you are healed, and you need to be able to claim that. And so we're going to talk a little bit about more of that too as we move forward with the power of our words and healing words and things like that. So anyhow, James, thanks for sharing. We appreciate it. Sorry for the little glitch we had there. You know,
it's real life.
Happens. And if this comes out before the election, get out there and vote, because who knows, all this stuff may go away anyway. You know, I don't know. And you'll end up on somebody's hard drive in a computer store somewhere.
In the trash.
Yeah, in the trash. So anyway, have a great day. God bless.